Caleb Williams and his father, Carl, asked attorneys to find a workaround to the NFL's collective bargaining agreement, explored signing in the UFL, and considered ripping the city of Chicago and the team to create a controversy, according to Seth Wickersham of ESPN.com. There was plenty of reporting on the subject in his upcoming books, American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. I am joined by former Chicago Bears defense lineman Tank Johnson to break down the truth about this situation, as Tank has a history with this writer, Seth Wickersham. Now, Tank, can't thank you enough for joining. Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us about who wrote this article, your history with Seth Wickersham, and all the history that goes with it? Go ahead.
Seth Wickersham, and he's a veteran in the game. He's been around a long time. He's highly respected for the work that he does, for the information that he gets. And, as far as journalism goes, as editor goes, I mean, he's probably one of the longest tenured senior writers at ESPN. But I'll tell you one thing, that my experience with Seth was, he asked me over and over for a few, maybe a couple of weeks, we're going to come and do an interview with you. And this is me coming out of jail, I'm signing my deal in Dallas. I really just wanted to keep a low profile. Rich Darwimple, the Dallas Cowboys media relations guy, was asking me for weeks to do this interview, and I just didn't want to do it. I just didn't feel good about it. But he made me believe that it was going to be a piece about the transition I'm making, the good I'm doing in the community, my road to getting back, and just kind of like how I plan to kind of not end up on the bad side of the commissioner or the league again. And so I said, man, all right, cool, let's do it. And so I let Seth Wickersham basically enter my life for a week. He was with me in the morning, when I wake up. He was with me when I drove to the gym after practice. This guy was with me around the clock. And what he does is he disarms you and makes himself like a fly on the wall. And then when he does that, I think you're not conscious of like, when he's in your car, the music you're listening to, for example, you're not like worried about all that ancillary things, because you're thinking it's just about what's on record. And he will get more scoop and more information about you just by observing you and formulating his own opinion. And I believe he did that to Caleb. I think he disarmed him. He was just a fly on the wall. They were having normal conversations. Way too trusting of a person in the media, and they didn't realize, just like I didn't, he's not reporting what you say, he's reporting on his interpretation of your life.
Right, absolutely. And Tank, let's really dive into this story here. So I'll give you some backstory here. On Thursday, ESPN.com posted an article focusing on Caleb Williams' reluctance to play for the Bears after he entered the draft out of USC here. Caleb Williams told his father, Caleb Williams' father told Caleb, Chicago is the place where quarterbacks go to die. And he also said, I don't want my son playing for the Bears, Tank. And I thought that was an interesting line coming from the father of the player here. Caleb Williams reportedly, asking, people close to him, do I want to go there? I don't think I can do it, with Shane Waldron, who was the former OC there. Man, Tank, what is your reaction seeing that from the father of Caleb Williams? Well, when you read that and you heard about this, what was your reaction to it?
To me, just being a man of principle and integrity, it's more of a reflection on the Bears and the state of the Bears. I think the Bears have been consistently drafting players that maybe they shouldn't have too high, and there's always been some questions about, like, what are they doing in the early round? What's our focus? So for it get to a point where a father who's the father of the number one pick is having questions about going to the historically great Bears, I think it's more of a reflection on the Bears, man, honestly.
Absolutely. And especially looking at the Bears staff last year, Shane Waldron, I don't know, I knew about his history coming from Seattle. I mean, I think he's a good coordinator. I just think those seriously question him. And then, like I just mentioned, Caleb questioning playing for Waldron as well. Once that all transpired, actually, hold on. Before I show this, I wanted to talk about Caleb Williams. He also wanted to play. Says he wanted to go to the Vikings, Tank, in the division. Now, coming from a number one pick, he's getting killed in the media right now. People are calling him a diva, and it just doesn't add to – it doesn't help that here in another offseason with the Chicago Bears, and there's another headline about a quarterback not wanting to be there or whatnot. What did you take away about Caleb wanting to go to the Vikings? Anything?
I think in the pre-draft, all of us are dreaming. We're dreaming of a dream scenario, man, and it's so random, But the number one pick, he can really have more focused dreams and like intentional dreams. When you're going to be the number one pick, and so I mean, I don't think it's like bad that that's where he wanted to go. He's seen himself and he saw that he fit in there. And pre-draft, like I said, every player has aspirations of like, man, for example, I thought it was a lock that I was going to be in Seattle. If you ask me, they had the 23rd pick. They were picking a defensive lineman. I was the number one defensive lineman coming out in terms of sacks and tackles for a loss. Stats off the chart. It was a no-brainer, but that was my wish and my dream, and they went with Marcus Tubbs. So I just think that as a number one pick, you're allowed to have big dreams, and there's more attention focused on them.
Definitely, absolutely, and I'd like hearing that tidbit about you and the Seahawks. You coming from the University of Washington, that makes complete sense. And the NFL is a business. I don't know if you heard Boomer Esiason, reacting to this news about Caleb Williams. He went off on Caleb Williams, calling him entitled, etc. Tank, and I wanted to get your reaction to Boomer's take here. Take a listen.
When you think about this, I think a lot of these kids and their parents are nowadays, and that the level of entitlement is breathtaking. And it's no wonder why he failed initially, and it's no wonder why the coach got fired. So now they go out and get an offensive coach in Ben Johnson. And you know what? Now it's on his ass. It's going to be on his ass to live up to these so-called lofty expectations that he has for himself and that his father has for his son. And I understand, that there could be a discussion, hey, this is where quarterbacks go to die. Well, go fix it. Be the reason that the team is going to turn it around and you be the player that you think you are. And I would just tell them, just keep your mouth shut. You're going into the greatest league that there's ever been for the sport that we all love. You're going to have a chance one day to make $500 million because guys like me and guys before me all went on strike so you could actually make more money.
Damn, Tank, agree or disagree with Boomer Esiason's comments there on Caleb?
I mean, listen, I agree with Boomer because he's looking at it through his lens. I mean, he's right. Even before my generation. I mean, those guys, were getting paid like $1 million and were elated about it. And so, you've got the guys now making a lot of money, through his lens. These kids are entitled. They're calling their own shots. And, it used to be just shut up, be happy, get into the league and do your best. Well, obviously that's, it's evolved into what it is today. College football with the mobility around the country, and again, you have aspirations when you're going to be the number one pick. So I mean, listen, I feel Boomer, man. Boomer, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I think we're just going to be banging our heads against the wall if we try to make sense of this generation as compared to generations before.
That's a great perspective and a great point there, Tank. And I wanted to go back to the article we discussed a little bit. There's a little tidbit that Caleb Williams watched film alone with no instruction or guidance from coaching during his rookie season. Quote, "No one tells me what to watch." Caleb Williams told his dad, "I just turn it on." Now, some reports have come out, sources from within the Bears organization last season who have been completely perplexed at the allegation about this, that coaches didn't watch film with Caleb Williams. One player said, "We had film sessions often with our groups. Coach would send us home with film to review before the next day of practice." Maybe that's what CW Caleb Williams is talking about. What do you think about that report? Do you chalk it up to the old coaching staff, or do you put it on Caleb?
Well, I mean, it'd be hard pressed for a coach to absolutely at least not explain to you what you're watching, right? Because the way that the NFL works is it's very regimented. I think Tuesday or Wednesday install is first and second down. Thursday is third down, and then you go through. So I'm sure that, it wasn't just scatterbrain. It was, you know what, this is what their defense does in these situations. This is what I want you to look at. And maybe he didn't like understand, and he needed to be like explicitly and deliberately talk and say, hey, you know, we're watching first and second down defenses when we're in this formation. But I think it's just a quote too early, right? Like you've got to, you've got to watch film for years and years and years before you even really understand how to watch it in the NFL. I mean, I was just looking at the screen, not really comprehending all the movements running around my first couple of years. And then as I got a little bit older, then I started to look at more nuanced and specific things. And that's just a product of like growing up in the league. So I think he just probably was premature with that comment. And I think he'll look at that same thing 3 years from now and say, oh shit, that's what we were doing.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And kind of building off there, let me ask you now, Ben Johnson comes in, takes over with his new staff. The biggest video I have on this entire channel is you and I talking about Caleb Williams last offseason, last July, and about Bears OTAs and his performance. Now going into this season with Ben Johnson and Caleb, what have you heard about Caleb? How are you feeling about Caleb? How are you feeling about the whole Bears organization as a whole going into the season right now?
It's funny, man, because like my gut feeling when we drafted him was he wasn't going to be very good out the gate. I didn't think he was that guy to take out the gate like that. But like after seeing, you know, he had a lot of experience in his first year, right? I mean, he got sacked. I mean, he got away from some sacks. He threw some good passes. He threw some bad passes. And to any athlete, you know, what you need is like reps and experience. And I believe, based on watching him last year, that all those reps count for some sort of data in order to like help you in your next year coming up. And as bad as I felt about him being drafted and coming to the Bears, like I do have a little bit better feeling after watching him. I mean, he's determined if nothing, right? Yeah. And I mean, if you're a willing participant and you're trying to do what you got to do, you got a shot.
Definitely. And I think Ben Johnson, if we see success from Caleb this season, I think Ben Johnson is going to have a lot to do with that. I really like what he's done with the Chicago Bears in the offseason, not afraid to go out and get some players, make some moves, try to revamp the offensive line. They got like 3 or 4 new starters, I believe, coming into that offensive line, which I really like. I really like the acquisition of having Eric Bieniemy as the running back coach, having some old school. We're seeing videos of EB getting after it, you know, in the Bears rookie camp and mini camp here, getting after it, old school coaching, yelling. I'm with it. What are your thoughts on the addition of Eric Bieniemy to the Bears coaching staff before we get you out of here?
Man, I mean, listen, you got to have a stomach for Eric B, man. You know, he's going to tell like it is every day when you're feeling good, when you're feeling in the middle, and when you're feeling down. And how you receive messages when you're feeling good is different how you receive them when you're feeling down after 2 losses. So, you know, you just got to, you got to have a stomach for it, man. And I think he's going to take a good leap, man. I'm hoping. We've got all the groceries, man. I just hope we can put it all together.
Definitely. And Tank, I can't wait till the season. We're almost here, man. Halfway through May. We're almost here to the season, man. So I can't wait to talk all things Chicago Bears football with you as we get close to the season. Tank, I know you're a busy man. I'll go ahead and let you go. I can't thank you enough for joining, my man. Appreciate your perspective and us, revealing the truth about this whole situation, my man. I appreciate it, and have a great Saturday.
No doubt, man. And just remember all this as I'm a Bears fan making these comments. So, I just try to speak it how it is, man. Thanks, Ben, for having me on, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, Tank. Have a great weekend, man. Thank you. Shout out to Tank Johnson, 8-year NFL vet, University of Washington alum, and former Chicago Bears defensive lineman, for joining the show, giving us some perspective and revealing the truth about Seth Wickersham here and the truth about this article with Caleb Williams. Now, if you ask me, I think Ben Johnson is a legitimate coach. I think he's going out and trying to really, turn around the Bears, do what they haven't done in the past. I really like, who he's bringing in. Like I mentioned with Tank, Eric Bieniemy as the RB coach. I think that's a great get. I think, with this generation of kid, my generation, you got to have some old school coaching. And I could tell you, coming firsthand from me as somebody, you need that. Like, that's what it is. So I think that's a great get for the Chicago Bears. I think that division is going to be extremely competitive, especially between the Lions and the Bears. The Vikings are a big question mark to me right now with their quarterback situation. But obviously got the Packers, who are going to be formidable and winning 10 games at least. Is Ben Johnson a leader of men? Yeah, that's what we're going to find out. DC, that's exactly what we're going to find out, because obviously stepping up. And I talked with Tank Johnson a few months ago when Ben Johnson was hired about, the transition from defensive coordinator to head coach. Can he lead men, or is he just an offensive coordinator? So I talked about that with Tank, and it's really ways to be seen with that, because we could sit here and hypothetically argue and speculate about that for a long time, but it really ways to be seen with that. But I'm excited to see it. I really like the pieces they brought in, like I mentioned, especially in the offensive line, which I think ultimately Caleb Williams taking so many damn hits running around, I think that played a big part in that. And Caleb, I guess he's a leader of men. I think he's still maturing in that aspect, and once he gets some success under his belt in the NFL and builds those relationships with the new guys Ben Johnson brought in, I think he'll definitely see that. Folks, I appreciate you tuning in on this special edition of Bailey Price Media live here on this beautiful Saturday. Shout out to 8-year NFL vet Tank Johnson for joining the show. We'll be live here back on Monday with Matt and 0 to 60 here, talking all things Colorado Buffaloes football, and we'll be live here on Tuesday. Got a very, very special guest for you, talking all things Arizona State Sun Devils football here with Chris Cartman here, covers the Arizona State Sun Devils. He's going to go ahead and join the show on Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. We may have another special guest with Chris as well. Folks, I can't thank you enough for tuning in. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. If you'd like to donate to the show and help us get even bigger here, hit that super chat button and leave a donation. Shout out to the folks for tuning in. I appreciate you watching on this beautiful Saturday, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Peace.